Hey y'all, it's Asha Dawson, founder and lead planner for Event Productions by Jen, and we are back today to talk about the big three. Now, when we're talking about the big three, I'm really getting at the big three vendors that make up the bread and butter of any good wedding. I want to just tell you a little bit about why each one matters and why you need to make sure that these are budget priorities for how you choose to move forward with your wedding. So let's talk about what those first three are. We have the venue staff, we have the wedding planning staff, and we have the catering staff. Why is that? Because the place where the event happens matters. The people who work that event and make sure that you are not liable for insurance and not liable for anything that may happen with a space because of a wedding guest or an injury, what have you. And because you need someone who can put together all of the vendors. If you don't have good wedding planners, a venue with staff, and a good caterer, you're just not going to have the wedding of your dreams, okay? These are the things that oftentimes get overlooked. As a bride, it's very easy to get caught up in the specifics of decor and the aesthetics and where will my wedding party be? Where will my family sit for the reception? But these are the mundane things that behind the scenes you really want to make sure are running smoothly. Let's begin with the venue. So in previous videos, I have brought up the importance of choosing a venue that not only fits what you want, but also fits a budget. Now, here's the piece. Say that you choose a venue that is low budget. You just have a simple gazebo set up. You just have something in the park, what have you. That's not quite what I mean. When we're thinking about a venue, what we're really talking about is where that reception is happening. Okay, so say you do your ceremony somewhere simple, somewhere quaint, okay? Well, the question is, okay, where is your reception at? What does that space look like? That's what I mean by the venue being crucial. So, for example, I want to talk about a wedding I did where I feel as if the venue staff was lacking in terms of the amount of people that were there. And then another aspect where not only the venue staff were lacking, we had some issues with some of the vendors actually being able to do what they were supposed to follow through on. So let's talk a little bit about this wedding. So this wedding took place at a venue that was what you would consider a mid-tier venue for Atlanta. So they had a great reputation. This venue was, it was pretty, okay? It had a good track record. And the person who worked there, or who helped organize everything, was awesome, right? However, they were limited in staff. So what that meant was my wedding planning team had to come in and fill in those gaps. And those can be significant gaps, right? That can be, for example, at this wedding, that can be quite literally moving furniture around, which is typically not the responsibility of a wedding planning team. So with a venue that only has one person on staff who is doing things, that presents a lot of challenges. There are lots of venues, and you want to consider this as you are considering a venue, where they will provide people who are working the day of your wedding. And it may not be a ton, but there will be a team. So when a spill happens on the floor, you're going to have a team of that venue staff go and pick it up. No one has to worry about it, what have you. For example, at the end of the night, when things have to be put away, well, if there's only one person working at that venue, they may need some support putting things away. And that's exactly what happened with us. We were the support. So there's nothing per se that is exactly wrong with that. But when you were thinking about a venue, there are multiple things that can make that place have more flow or have less flow. If you were to have a venue where the planning team has to do a significant amount of the work to support that venue, you're really, really depending on a good wedding planning team who will be operating outside of the boundaries of what they would probably be used to operating for. So let's move on to the catering. Why is catering such a big deal? Well, when you're feeding people, right? People come to a wedding and what they remember is the food and the drinks and the vibes, okay? So if you are setting them up with a caterer that's providing mediocre food or mediocre service, or they're very messy, okay, then you are really taking away from the value of the wedding. So what I would suggest when it comes to hiring a good caterer is don't just go with the person who you know can go cook everything from Costco, right? If you're on a low budget wedding, sure, that's what you're doing. But if you are looking to have a slightly elevated experience, you really want to go with a caterer that has a firm reputation. And not just any kind of reputation, one where service is of importance, efficiency is important, and cleanliness is important. Because that catering team can be the difference between your guests feeling like, this was so much fun, oh my goodness, the food was so good, and people were so nice and helpful, to, just anything. I worked a wedding where the caterer said, well, guests are just gonna have to clean up behind themselves and we don't bust tables. There are trash cans there, and if they don't throw it away, then that's that. Well, what ended up happening was that those responsibilities fell on other people. Those responsibilities fell on other wedding guests who felt bad. It fell on the wedding planning team who had to make sure the space was clean. It fell on the venue. So what I mean by that is an unprofessional caterer. So as you were thinking about your big three, okay, the last one is going to be the wedding planning team. Obviously, we would love for you to choose us, right? Event Productions by Jen. We have a team of 3. We work hard, and we do a good job, I think. But when you're looking for a wedding planning team, you're really looking for somebody who has big picture vision. Someone who can work well with others, and not just with people they like, but someone who can work well with a variety of folks. The reality of wedding planning is that as a planner, you're constantly working with a different rotation of people. No wedding looks the exact same. So while there are some weddings that I've worked that I just love everyone that is the vendor, the couple's great, everyone sees things the way I see things. There are also weddings where there's a disconnect, a genuine disconnect between me and vendors, right? That really depends on a resolution where I'm able to see their vision and they're able to see my vision, and we can come together. So when you're looking for a wedding planning team, look for someone who's willing to compromise, someone who's willing to listen, someone who's open-minded to other ideas. You will know this in those screening calls. When you're on the phone with whoever your potential wedding planner may be, they will be someone who listens to you, right? That stuff starts early. Those are soft skills where if they can't even listen to you, the bride, and take into consideration, not necessarily agree with everything you're saying, but take into consideration everything you're saying, right? They're probably not going to do it with vendors. They're probably going to want to do it their way. So keep that in mind as you are looking for an efficient wedding planning team. So just to recap, the big 3 of a great wedding: good venue that has staff, a professional catering team, and an efficient wedding planning team that's willing to work with anyone. Before you go, imagine planning your ATL wedding with a step-by-step co-pilot. That's my DIY Atlanta wedding checklist. Venue shortlist, permit must-knows, 90-day and day of timelines, all in one place. It's free, it's yours, and it turns today's tips into your action plan. Hit the link in the description or the pin, download it now, and you'll be miles ahead by tonight.